CTV's chief news anchor, LaFlamme, with me at the desk. Some breaking news involving the We charity. Lisa, good to see you. What's happening?
Well, Todd, after 25 years, the We charity that started out as it is the largest charity for volunteerism in this country, and as a result of they cite the pandemic and also the political scandal that ensued with the student volunteer grant program. They are winding down all operations in Canada, so this is really an epic move on behalf of the charity. They feel that they just can't get above what the last few months has done to the charity. We sat down with the two brothers, Mark and Craig Kielburger, for a very revealing conversation on what led to this, how they feel, clearly devastated. And interestingly, they don't blame. They're very diplomatic. They don't blame the government, but clearly they wish there had been different procurement system in place. They wish that the finance minister and the prime minister had recused themselves. This scandal now, when you're a charity and you Google We, up comes the word scandal, and they're very clear about that. It's no charity really can withstand that. This wasn't a political scandal or the Trudeau scandal or the Liberal scandal. It comes up the We scandal. And all of this has just, they've collapsed under it with sponsors disappearing. And so it's very significant. What they're going to do is close down all Canadian operation, the We Day, all of that sort of thing. They're selling off all of the real estate, and all of that money is going to go into an endowment program. They say it'll be multi-millions of dollars that will sustain the operations in Kenya, in Ecuador. They will not have any role in that. Once this endowment and a new board is put in place, they will have no role in the running of that endowment. So it is, it's really a massive moment, an epic moment for this organization. Canadians have come to know Craig and Mark Kielburger. I think Craig was 12 years old when he first started this charity. So it's really quite devastating is the word they use.
So 25 years now coming to an end amid all of this, very abrupt. And as we know it, that's the end, as you're saying. It's just the way it exists will no longer.
What will exist is all of the educational programs in an online form for, I think they've helped something like, I don't want to get this wrong, but over 3,000 charitable causes, 7,000 Canadian schools. So many people know somebody, a niece or a nephew, kids who went to these We Day events. Over 1 million Canadian kids, I think, attended We Day celebrations. That is all done. But the resource, they're very clear on suggesting that the resources that existed from those programs will still be available for Canadian schools and Canadian educators to sort of keep what they've learned alive, to promote volunteerism for young people, because that was really their focus in the beginning. This was the first time that anybody looked at kids of that age and said, these kids should start thinking about volunteer work. So, it's really a significant shift. And certainly, having been drawn into the request to do the student grant program through the pandemic with the federal government, they definitely cite that as the beginning of the end.
You said you sat down with them, and this has got to be such a dramatic moment for them. I mean, this has been their life for 25 years.
It has, and they say they were naive. Now, it's difficult on a lot of levels to accept that, in the sense that since 12, Craig has certainly been lobbying, even it was Prime Minister Jean Chrétien back then. But they cite naivete, that they didn't ask enough questions. They suggest that when the phone call came about the student volunteer grant program, they didn't even know the total cost themselves until they saw the press release, that they didn't ask enough questions. We learned a lot more information, as you know, and as you reported so extensively, when those heavily censored documents came out. after the testimony that questions about, who planted the idea first. If we was, as in the Prime Minister's words, the only charity that was able to actually be the delivery partner on this. And again, they still maintain that it was the public service, Rachel Warnick, who made that initial statement to them, not the Prime Minister, not the Finance Minister, and they say not Bardish Chagger. Although these are the questions that will go on. And they said because the political scandal will not end anytime soon, they can't survive this. As I said, as people who donate to charities, they see the word scandal attached to it, and it's really difficult to get out from under the weight of that.
You think about the check as well, the Bill Morneau cut as he was going in for testimony that day and how that all played out as well, right?
And I asked them about that, and it was an hour and 10-minute conversation, very extensive. We're going to put the whole interview on the website because there's so many levels to this. There's the We charity, there's the for-profit arm, which is Me to We, which is what Bill Morneau and his family, the trips that they went on to Ecuador and to Kenya. By the way, those projects in Kenya, the hospital, the college, agricultural projects, they will be sustained through this endowment. So they won't grow, but they will be sustained. We Canada dies. It is dead. In the United States, it is not dead. They were not clear yet on what it will look like, but American sponsors have not bailed on them. And so that remains to be seen. Clearly, they were very focused on what they do now. Remember, they laid off 200 people in the early days of the pandemic. There were a lot of questions about that at the time. They're selling all of this real estate, up to $50 million in Toronto real estate. Also, there were questions about that. So there's so many layers to this monumental and some might say drastic decision to close down this charity, but they really said they did the math and there was no way around it.
Astonishing. Our chief news anchor, Lisa LaFlamme, here in studio with this breaking news. We winding down their Canadian operations. Thank you so much for this, Lisa.
Thank you, Todd.